The Feast of Tabernacles by Apostle Jacqueline Fedor. In Leviticus 23:34-42 it says, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days to the Lord. On the first day there shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no customary work on it. For 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire to the Lord. On the 8th day you shall have a holy convocation, and you shall offer an offering made by fire to the Lord. It is a sacred assembly, and you shall do no customary work on it. These are the feasts of the Lord, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire to the Lord, a burnt offering and a grain offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, everything on its day, besides the Sabbath of the Lord, besides your gifts, besides all your vows, and besides all your free will offerings, which you give to the Lord. Also on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep the feast of the Lord for 7 days. On the first day there shall be a Sabbath rest. On the 8th day, Shemini Atzeret, a Sabbath rest. And you shall take for yourselves on the first day the fruit of beautiful trees, branches of palm trees, and boughs of leafy trees, and willows of the brook. You shall rejoice before the Lord your God for 7 days. You shall keep it as a feast to the Lord for 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths for 7 days. All who are native Israelites shall dwell in booths. At the Feast of Tabernacles there will be no one from Adam's race asked to attend the 8th day or the next feast. Only native Israel will be invited to attend, which today is the born-again seed of Abraham, or the new generation birthed in spiritual Zion. Old Israel was told to dwell in booths 7 days, which held a special meaning for us today. When we looked closely at dwell in booths 7 days, in the original Hebrew, we find the correct way this feast is to be experienced. The definition of dwell, Hebrew, 3427, yashab, a primitive root, properly to sit down, specifically as judge, in ambush, in quiet, by implication, to dwell, to remain, causatively, to settle, to marry. Definition for booth, 5521, sukkah, fern of 5520, a hut or lair. 7651 means perfect and complete. Days, 3117, means always, perpetually, and forevermore. Booths, 5521 means a screen or veil, and to cover or hide. When we put this all together, it means that at the last Feast of Tabernacles, we will sit down quietly as judges, without anyone seeing or knowing, screened off from the world. We will be settled and married, dwelling in His lair. Is the body of Christ not the lair of the Lion of Judah? We will also be perfected and complete forevermore, perpetually. Is this not exciting to think about? Only the sacred seed will be chosen at the Feast of Tabernacles to live eternally or be glorified. These are ones that kept and experienced all the feasts God prepared for them and devoured the newly released manna set before them as well. They renounced their first birth into Adam's race and were born again as Abraham's seed at the second holy convocation. Galatians 3, verse 29. And if you are Christ's, then you are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. This is talking about the covenants and blessings promised to Abraham, one of which is the world. These loyal ones allowed the light of the menorah to shine a path for them to walk the highway of holiness, where they began to speak the message of the Spirit and to take on His nature and abilities at the Feast of Pentecost, or the third Holy Convocation. The faithful ones continued on and allowed the prophets to speak into their lives at the Feast of Trumpets. Sometimes they were rebuked and humbled. Other times they were lifted up and edified. But always they stayed on the potter's wheel and remained in the fire until they were finally delivered at the Feast of Atonement. They are God's treasure, His silver and gold. Others would not hear the prophets at the Feast of Trumpets. They therefore did not fully experience the Feast of Atonement, nor would they completely surrender their own will. The message for the end-time people calls for change, and these do not want anything different. They are satisfied with things as they are. They want to maintain control of their life, time, money, even the amount of effort they spend in their service to God. This thinking has made their nature more like that of Satan's than the Lord's. Remember, Satan is good and evil. Even though born again, the self-willed ones, like Adam and Eve before them, without realizing it, have sold out to the lawless one and are themselves labeled lawless because they didn't love or accept truth enough to desire change. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 9 through 12 says, "The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this reason God will send them strong delusion, that they should believe the lie, that they all may be condemned who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Then there are those who tasted truth, but honestly preferred the false doctrines of man. Again, the lies better fit man's carnal thinking and lifestyle. Those that actually know truth but turn from it are described as the twice dead in Jude. They may have experienced all the feast up to tabernacles. They were at one time trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, but now unrighteous trees with no fruit. They are like clouds without the living water of truth, empty and blown around by the winds of adversity. They will call themselves Christians. Many, in fact, are in leadership positions, but they serve only themselves and are not really interested in the needs of others. This becomes especially apparent if it takes any kind of sacrifice on their part to help someone. They feasted right along with the faithful ones up to a point, but then did not fear what God would do if they did not partake of the other feasts. These will be pulled up by the roots as they are spotted, and their robes are not clean. They are really tares or weeds. Jude 1, verse 12. These are spots in your love feasts, while they feast with you without fear, serving only themselves. They are clouds without water, carried about by the winds, late autumn trees without fruit, twice dead, pulled up by the roots. Here again, we can blame the church. She did not give her people a taste for lamb, an appetite for truth, or the hunger for the word, however we want to say it. They grew up not caring about the promises of God, nor looking forward to them. The awesome covenants of God were never properly taught, so they pursued the things of the world, looking for their own victories. This was encouraged by the church, as success in the world meant more finances in the tithes and offerings. Tainted money is okay with Babylon. Babylon, by the way, is the name given to churches that operate through this train of thought. How to pursue an intimate relationship with the Lord was talked about, but they never were taught how to have an intimate relationship with Him. Do you know why? It is because Babylon is possessive of her children. She wants their allegiance so she can sell her books, her music, statues, crosses, beads, videos, etc. God's ways are not hers. He says, what you receive freely, give freely. Her reply to God is, I did not receive what I have free. I had to pay the seminary for my education. Everything cost me. Therefore, the people will pay for what I know in salaries, donations, etc. Money and power is her game, but you know what? Her players will not be a part of tabernacles. What did Jesus pay His disciples? Were they not so grateful for what they were taught that they were more than willing to share with others? In fact, the message Jesus shared was so beautiful to them it burned within. How could they not teach it? The same is true today. God is releasing what Daniel and John were told to close up. Knowledge is increasing so rapidly and spreading quickly over the earth. Babylon is very angry. Her people are leaving her, looking for more than what she has to offer. Somehow they sense there is more to God than she teaches, and much more required of them as well to be the bride of Christ. After all, what kind of bride would most of her followers make for the Son of God? He is holy. Has she taught holiness? There will be a final harvest of both those that sprouted and matured from the seed of Abraham, and those who are seed of Belial. They will be sifted, and only those who are the sacred seed, Christ, the bread of life, will become one loaf with him. The rest will be as chaff, burned and destroyed. Matthew 13:36 through 43. Then Jesus sent the multitude away, and went into the house. And his disciples came to him, saying, Explain to us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said to them, He who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seeds are the sons of the kingdom, but the tares are the sons of the wicked one. The enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. Therefore, as the tares are gathered and burned in fire, so it will be at the end of this age. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, those who practice lawlessness, and will cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Another way of saying it would be, God will harvest his trees of righteousness, that he has planted, and root up all that the enemy has sown. God's trees are offshoots of the tree of life, with leaves that will heal the nations, and fruit that will satisfy their hunger for truth. His bride will feed only knowledge from the tree of life, unlike Eve, who fed her race lies from the tree of good and evil. Babylon and her children will be destroyed, along with the beast that supported her. We should not want to be a part of either one of them. Come out of her, my people, the Lord says of Babylon in Matthew 18, verse 4. Don't touch the unclean thing. Be separate, and I will dwell with you, he counsels in 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17. In closing, let me leave you with a wonderful promise of God found in Revelation 21, verses 3 through 5. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Then he who sat on the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said to me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. Happy Feast of Tabernacles.